Today on the Bang Up Says podcast, we're going to be discussing how everything I believe is a lie, and then other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. Alright, I only have about an hour to record and edit this show, so we're going to see if I can do it. Raw, down and dirty, one camera, no edits. First thing I want to do is go on a bit of a rant about a realization I had. Everything that I have believed is a lie. I came to this realization when using the microphone that I am currently using in a way that it should not have worked in, or a way that I never imagined it would work in. The microphone I am using is the Electronics Voodoo VR2. This is a figure 8 ribbon microphone. Ribbon microphones are not very sensitive, they are relatively quiet, they also have a lobe of sensitivity in their rear. I never imagined in my wildest dreams, I can't speak, that this would function well as an overhead microphone. Yet I used it in this fashion on this show a couple of months ago and was blown away by the results because the null areas on this polar pattern are phenomenal at rejecting ambient noise in those areas. And because ribbon microphones are a bit darker and a bit fuller in the low mids, it really helps out my voice at a distance. It doesn't lose all of that body, which is something that I struggle with when I distance mic. When I get a little bit farther away, I don't have that same robustness that I enjoy when close miking. So this blew my mind and it made me reconsider everything. What else have I thought was wrong that I could actually be doing? What have I believed to be true that is actually false? The second thing, the main thing that I wanted to talk about here is preamp noise. Interface preamp noise. I have always been under the assumption that you need super low noise preamps. I have advocated for this in my reviews. And the thing that broke my brain here, I did a review of the Apogee Boom. The specs stated that it had an EIN of negative 128 dBu non-weighted. That would mean the noise floor is phenomenal. I did my review based on those assumptions after using it for 4 weeks, I think. I recorded podcasts, published podcasts, got 0 complaints. Then Julian Krause did his review of it a couple of weeks later. He did some measurements and found the EIN was really negative 120 dBu weighted, if I am remembering correctly. That is one of the worst noise performances on any interface that I have ever seen in modern time. That's worse than a Zoom H6, which has an EIN of negative 123, negative 124. But the thing that broke my brain, I got no complaints about that. And that made me realize maybe it doesn't matter as much as all of us reviewers make it out to matter. That's why last week, I used the Zoom PodTrack P4 with an SM7B without an inline preamp. I don't even recall if I did anything in terms of noise reduction in post. I may have. But point being, I don't think it matters that much, and I have been harping on that in the past. Who really cares? If you are submitting a professional audiobook, perhaps you have criteria that you have to meet. But if you are publishing a podcast, if you are uploading a YouTube video, and your EIN on your preamp is negative 124 as opposed to negative 128 or negative 129, sure, it may be noisier than you would like, but is anybody going to notice? Is anybody going to actually care? I don't know. And if it is that bad, if it drives you crazy enough, you are able to use some pretty basic plugins to reduce that noise floor a little bit more, some spectral denoise. Not a noise gate. A noise gate It will attenuate that noise when you're not speaking, when the gate is closed, but then when you start speaking, that hiss is going to come back while you are talking. So if that's your concern, do a spectral denoise, train the plugin of the noise profile of the preamp noise, and then reduce that. So I am just going through this midlife crisis as a YouTube reviewer. Have I been nitpicking all of the wrong stuff that doesn't really matter? I don't know. That's what's so exciting about this, because as I produce more content, as I use more stuff, the more I learn and the more informed all of my opinions become. We'll talk about that a little bit later because somebody called me out on something, and this is something that I just learned today. So I just wanted to point out, everything I have believed is probably a lie, and I will continue to question everything. Going forward, I will never believe anything that I am told is true. I will say, oh, okay, interesting, let me try it and see what the results are, because why not just try everything? That's the entire point of recording audio. Try it, see if it works. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, cool. Now you know. Now I know you can use a figure-8 ribbon microphone to distance mic overhead. Something I never would have recommended, something I never would have imagined would work, but it does. I never would have recommended using a Shure SM7B running directly into a Zoom PodTrack P4 or a Zoom H6 without an inline preamp. But after doing it and getting zero complaints, and after doing it with an interface that has a noise floor 4 dB higher and getting no complaints, why not? So this is me just, I guess, sharing the fact that I am fallible. Did I use that correctly? I am not infallible. Right? Okay. What have I been testing? You have been listening to it. I already talked about it. This is the SE Electronics Voodoo VR2. I am about 10 inches off overhead miking, and it is pointed directly at my mouth, maybe a bit towards my nose. Let me bring this down a touch. Now it is pointed more directly at my mouth. I did finally get resolution and got a working shock mount, and I am a happy camper. I love how this thing sounds. It is insane. It has a lot more detail than a lot of ribbon microphones. It extends into the air, and it is just a great sounding microphone. I do have that issue with the customer service, but other than that, just based on the performance, pretty impressed. I am running into the Universal Audio X8, 48 volts phantom power on, gain set at 42 dB. Why is phantom power on? This is the active version of the microphone, so it has an inline or an inbuilt preamp. So you don't need an outboard preamp or an interface with 60 dB of gain or 55 dB of gain. You can get by with something a little bit more modest. All right, let's jump to what you had to say. First comment comes from Ralph, and he says, "Don't understand. What's the point of dark videos?" Ralph, thank you very much for the comment. There are 2 reasons for dark videos, in my opinion. First one being, people think that dark videos look more cinematic. Go watch some movies and then watch some YouTube videos. YouTube videos look overexposed every single time. Actual films are so incredibly dark. Once you notice it, you will never be able to unsee it. Gosh, can I even see anything on screen? That is so dark. Where's the actual lighting? And then you'll see some YouTubers going down that road. They look great. They are incredibly talented videographers or filmmakers or DPs, whatever you want to call them. But it's just a completely different aesthetic. And it's interesting to see people on YouTube adopting that. The second reason is the reason why I have dark videos sometimes. Dark videos means you don't have many lights. I took 2 photos. I will put them up on screen. When I have a bright video like I have right now, I have very bright lights in front of me blasting me in the face. When I have dark videos, I don't have that. And when you have different lightings, it actually evokes different moods, different emotions. And because you're in a different mood, you are experiencing different emotions, you will present information differently. If you go back and watch or listen to last week's podcast and then compare it to this week's podcast, I have not listened to last week's podcast, but I imagine I am going to be much more chill, man. Just whatever, who cares? Because I didn't have these massive sterile white lights blasting me in the face and changing my brain chemistry. So the reason why I like dark videos, I don't necessarily prefer light or dark videos when I'm watching something on YouTube. The reason why I like dark videos when I am making them is because it means I do not have these extremely bright lights shooting me in the face and blinding me. That's why I like dark videos. That's the point of dark videos for me. It creates more of a chilled out, relaxed mood that alters my mood, my emotion, and my presentation style. Sometimes I like just, man, whatever. Let's just chill out, relax, Mac's all cool, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's go back to the 60s, bro. Read some poetry. I don't know. I've never read poetry from the 60s. Where did that come from? That's my take. I am sure there are other people who will say, well, actually, if you notice the statistics, the analytics of dark videos and bright videos means that you'll get a 0.7% increase in click-through rate. I don't care about any of that. I just wanted to relax. That's why. Next, we have a comment from Nevin, but this is not the entire comment. It was quite long. I am only reading the first paragraph, but if you are interested in this topic, I would highly recommend going and reading the comment on last week's episode on the YouTube channel. Nevin says, Bandrew, I think what critics of Electret microphones have a problem with is not so much the sound, but the longevity of an Electret microphone. The electrostatic charge on an Electret backplate usually lasts about 25 years, and this is a conservative estimate, by the way, after which the charge incrementally goes kaput. In other words, Electret mics are not forever mics like many non-Electret true capacitor mics are. When I shop on eBay for an Electret, I have to be wary of buying any used Electret mics pre-2000 because I know the Electret's electrostatic charge is either weak or on its way out, which means it then becomes a worthless, useless microphone and cannot be recharged unless you replace the capsule with another recharged one, and this would probably cost you as much as the mic itself. Electret mics are convenient to build and sell because it saves companies money by electrically polarizing the mic capsules themselves instead of having to include a separate power supply for it to do the same thing. This way, it keeps prices low and guarantees rebuys when the same Electret charge ebbs away. This forces the consumer to buy another KSM32 when the first KSM32 fizzles out, and especially if you particularly like the mic sound signature. This scenario guarantees many mic companies more money via new mic purchases. Nevin, thank you very much for the comment. I appreciate it. This is a very interesting point that I had not considered and something that I was not aware of. So what I did, I went ahead and looked up this topic, lifespan or life of Electret capsules. Just so happens, Shure has a page on this. You may say that's biased because they sell Electret microphones. They're going to want to give you the best case scenario, but they say that they have estimated that permanently biased mics or Electret mics that they have a lifespan of 30 to 40 years. Nevin says 25 years on the high end. My heater just turned on. Apologies. I am not going to turn it off. This would absolutely change my thoughts on Electret microphones in terms of buy it for life. But if it comes down to buying a microphone and getting 30 years of use out of it, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair lifespan. yes, that is different than buying a Shure SM7B or a U87 because if you take care of those will, technically, they should last you 80, 100 years as long as you store them properly, you don't live in a harsh climate, and you don't beat the crap out of them. But as far as buying the microphone that's right for the job, this is something that I have discussed a lot. People have asked me, why would you buy a $1,000 microphone when a $100 microphone works? My answer is, if that microphone that costs $1,000 saves you an hour of time of post-production, that may be worth it to you. If that allows you to put up a microphone and get the exact sound that you want, that allows you to get creative much quicker and capture that emotion, capture that special moment when you're in the studio recording. So if that's the case, if the KSM32 or any other Electret microphone allows you to do that, I still think it would be worthwhile. Would it be better if they were buy-it-for-life items? Yes. If everything was maybe not everything, I am sure there's going to be something that would be worse if it was buy-it-for-life. Underpants, diapers, I don't know. There's going to be something, so I'm not going to say everything would be better if it was buy-it-for-life. But would it be better if Electret condenser microphones were buy-it-for-life? If the KSM32, which I have right here, was buy-it-for-life, you buy it, you get that sound, it works forever, yes, that would be ideal. I don't think it would be the fact that it has a 25-year life, or according to Shure, a 30 to 40-year life. I don't think that would be sufficient to say, if you love the sound, don't buy it, because you're only going to get 40 years of use out of it. In most cases, most people probably won't be recording in 30 to 40 years. I know I will be, because I'm going to be screaming into the internet, into the ether, until the day I die. And I plan on living another 70 years so I can scream at all of you. I will be the last I will be the last one standing. Listen to me scream about microphones. That's the goal. But very good information to have, something I was not aware of. I do want to push back on something as far as the you have to buy a new one. I don't know what the cost of replacing the capsule is. I can't imagine that it would be the same cost as buying a new KSM32. Maybe it is. I think Shure had like a flat repair fee of $270, something like that. So it would still be significantly cheaper than replacing the KSM32. I don't know if you sent it in 30 years, if that fee is going to be higher, if that fee would include capsule replacement or not. But that's something to consider as well. I doubt it would be, I'll just throw it away and buy a new one, because these are built extremely well, and if the capsule just loses its charge, you would think, yeah, just replace the capsule. And I'm sure that Shure, no pun intended, would be willing to allow you to pay to do that. Okay, thank you very much, Nevin. Appreciate ya. Next, we have a comment from Sick Jake. Sick! That's sick! He says, I respect your stance on sponsored videos, but as long as the sponsored content is clearly marked and not review related, I'm personally fine with it. You've built a brand of trust, and the occasional how to set up your Shure MV7 right sponsored by Shure isn't a huge deal to me. There are many other YouTubers that don't have that earned trust. Jake, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it. However, I still think there is a big issue that arises once these relationships start to form. Once these monetary ties between reviewer and company that is reviewed begin to form, I think there is a big conflict of interest. Yes, as you mentioned, the company may not be paying you to review item X, Y, or Z, and at that point, that would no longer be a review. That's true. The issue arises once the content creator comes to rely on that income from that company. And why is that an issue? Once they rely on getting X dollars from, for instance, since we are talking about them, let's say Shure. If Shure says, we'll give you $1,000 or $2,500 to make a how to set up the MV7 video. Next month, we'll pay you $2,500 to make a how to set up a Shure KSM32 video properly. Now you rely on that income. So what will you as a reviewer potentially do? Next time you're reviewing a product from Shure, no pun intended, they are not paying you to make that video, but you will potentially go a little bit easier on them because you don't want to tick them off. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds. You don't want to burn that bridge where after they may say, I don't want to give Joe Blow any more money to make videos because he crapped all over that new device we released. But once those monetary ties begin to form between content creator and company, and the content creator comes to rely on those income streams, they are going to potentially be nicer than they ought to be. They are going to maybe overlook some flaws that ought not be overlooked because they don't want to burn that bridge. They want to continue to receive that money. Maybe they need that money to pay rent, to buy food, to just continue to be a full-time YouTuber. And can you really fault them for that? If that is their income stream, is that something that we should be saying, oh no, you shouldn't be able to eat. You shouldn't be able to pay your mortgage, your rent this month. You should go back and find a full-time job. I don't want to be that gatekeeper. I don't want to be the moral judge and jury. But that's why I don't do it. Admittedly, this is something that I just think way too much about, and I think about how certain relationships can be perceived. I understand that a lot of people will look at the fact that I get microphones sent to me free of charge, I get microphones lent to me. They will look at that and say biased. That's fine. That's fine. That's why I disclose everything. That's why I have a webpage where I disclose everything that I say to companies. Here is what you have to agree to as a company to send me anything. And I try to be as transparent as possible to maintain that level of trust, to eliminate as many concerns of conflict of interest as I can. So I will not be doing that. I understand why you're saying that. You may think content creators have the ability to separate that, and maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I would like to think that I could, but I don't want people to say, well, I already didn't trust him because he gets the microphone sent to him to review, but he also gets money from Shure. He also gets money from Neumann or Avid or whoever. I don't want those monetary relationships to exist. There was, what was the company? I don't want to disclose the company, but a company sent me a very early pre-production unit of something they were working on, and they said, go ahead and test it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what the issues are, what you don't like about it, what you would recommend, what you wouldn't recommend, why you wouldn't recommend it. And I did that. I spent a week trying it out. Afterwards, they said, that was extremely helpful. We would like to send you some money for your time. I said, no, I cannot accept money from you because that would potentially be viewed as a conflict of interests. And the guy then said, well, if you're ever at a conference, I would love to buy you a Starbucks coffee. And I said, no, I can't accept that because I don't want this to be any kind of monetary relationship. The entire purpose of me accepting the offer to test it out and give you feedback is solely because I want this product to be good, because that means that the consumer has a better product to buy. That's the only reason I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for money. I would love to have money. Don't get me wrong. I am not some angel. I love money. I want more money, but I am not going to accept it from you. I don't want this relationship to be tainted by that. I don't want anybody to be able to hack our emails and see, oh wow, Bandrew received that much money from this company. Obviously, he's biased. So no, I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept coffee from you. I'm not going to accept a gift card. No. I appreciate you sending it to me. I hope the product is great. That's my stance, and that's where I am sticking to it. but it sucks. I would I would love to be able to just say, money please, give me monies please. That would be wonderful. Then could I buy a house? Please? Please, sir, may I have some more monies? I would like to buy a house. Give me low interest rates, please. Okay, going off on a tangent. Thank you very much, Sick Jake. Appreciate ya. I have my XLR cable out. Next comment comes from Jeremy G, and he says, I thought you were going for the TLM49 for the warm condenser pick. KSM32 is great, though. And then we have a comment from Art Vandalay from Vandalay Industry, importer or exporter, and he says, all solid choices for fall mics, though personally, I would have put the Soyuz bomblet in place for the KSM32 for warm-sounding condensers. Alright, I know I said I didn't have much time, but I felt the overwhelming urge to pull out both of these microphones so that I was able to hear what other people's fall perception of a condenser microphone would be, and maybe you can tell me in the comments on YouTube which is the real fall condenser microphone. The KSM32, the Soyuz bomblet, or the Neumann, hello Neumann, TLM49. Just a quick side note, I have never done this before, but in Audio Hijack, I just learned I can have multiple sessions open, each of the sessions recording with a different audio interface. How fantastic is that? One is recording the X8, another recording the 18i20, which is what I'm running these microphones into. It would help if I spoke into the microphone, not past it. Okay. This is the Shure KSM32 that you have been listening to me on. This was my fall pick. Let's go to the Soyuz. All right, now we are on the Soyuz bomblet. This thing does sound really good. I can absolutely see this being a good fall condenser microphone pick. Nice and warm with a bit of an extension into the top end, but not too bright. Not too bright. Very good pick, Art Vandalay of Vandalay Industry, importer or exporter of latex, is it? Very good pick. This is the Soyuz. This is the Soyuz. And finally, we are on the Neumann. Hello, Neumann. TLM49. This one is quite a bit quieter. I am peaking around negative 15 dB, negative 18 dB. Quite a bit quieter than the Soyuz. Maybe not the Shure, but there you go. Very mid-forward microphone. Which of these do you think is the best fall sound? The condenser microphone for Saul. For Saul? What? Who is Saul? Why does Saul gets no say in this? We would need to hear what Saul's voice sounds like and then understand what Saul's preferences are, and then we can determine what microphone is a best fit for Saul. But which of these microphones is the best pick for fall? Let me know in the comments on YouTube. The Neumann, hello, Neumann TLM49, the Shure KSM32, which is an Electret condenser microphone, meaning it will be dead in 25 to 40 years. Or the Soyuz, hello, Soyuz, that's not how it goes. The Soyuz bomblet, let me know in the comments down below. That is it for what you had to say. Now we are going to my favorite part of the show, where I just hand-hold a Neumann in my hand. I should do a full episode just hand-holding a U87 to drive people insane. Let's go to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment! Welcome to the Ask Bandrew segment, the segment where you ask me, Bandrew, and I answer you questionnaire. The first submission is a text submission from Paul F. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then I am going to edit it out. He asks, this may be a silly question, but I really need to know, how do you hook up your camera and mic to record video and audio at the same time? I have a Sony a6400 and a Mott M2. Thanks in advance. I'm assuming it's a Motu M2. I have made a video about this specific topic. I will link it in the description, how to connect an XLR microphone to your camera. I have an entire video on this. if you are at a computer, I do not recommend running a microphone through an interface, through a headphone output, directly into a camera's microphone input. The reason I am saying that, the vast majority of cameras' microphone preamps are absolute trash, and it will degrade the audio, it will make it hissy, chances are it will not sound great. So I do not recommend that method unless you absolutely need to. What I recommend is recording the video to an SD card, record the audio on your computer or an outboard recorder, drop both of those files into a non-linear video editor, and sync them up. That is what I recommend because that allows you to get the highest quality audio, which is running the audio through your audio interface's converters, and then it allows you to get the highest quality video onto the SD card, and then you get the best final product. High quality video, high quality audio, synced up in post, you're good to go. If you really want to record them together, running your microphone through your interface into your camera, go watch the video. I did an entire thing with that, and check it out. I'm not going to walk through every single step because I already did it. Hopefully that video helps, Paul. Thank you very much. Hey, Paul! I forgot about it. I used to work at a bank, and the guy I worked with, the other bank teller, was named Scotty. Hey, Scotty, by the way. Hope you're doing well. And we both watched American Psycho a lot and thought it was hilarious. And there was this guy who would come in named Paul. And whenever he would come in, we would both yell, "Hey, Paul!" Like the scene in American Psycho. And then we would giggle under our breaths because he had no idea that in our heads, I'm not going to go there. If you've seen American Psycho, you know what happens next. Hey, Paul! Okay. Next, we have a comment, a voice submission from Ton. Take it away, Ton.
Hey, Bandrew. My name's Ton Bettis. I was listening to your podcast last week. You had recommended somebody to use maybe the Zoom LiveTrack L8 because it has 6 XLR mic inputs. I've been using the L8 for 3 years now, and I'm overall very happy with it. You said that the preamps aren't the greatest. They're not, but they're very sufficient for what I do. I've recorded my podcast on it for 1.5 or 2 years, and I use it for a radio program when I record interviews or have to do voiceover work. The radio station I work for part-time, most of their stuff actually has lower quality than what the L8 would give you. You know, a lot of it's phone call related. And so for news gathering or related things, it actually is a big improvement over what a lot of radio stations do. I love the Mix Minus that you can plug a phone into it and record a conversation. I've used it at live events for putting on educational seminars involving multiple microphones and routing Zoom through it to play audio to the audience. But for what I do use it for, it's been very solid for the last 3 years. The final thing about it is that you do have to download the drivers for Windows from Zoom. They are fairly simple to download, but about every 6 months, it seems like they somehow get corrupted on my computer. And this has happened on 2 separate computers, a Dell and a Lenovo. And so I have to uninstall the drivers and reinstall them. And then it works again almost flawlessly. By the way, this is recorded on the L8. I've put some light compression on it with some noise reduction and maybe just a little bit of vocal enhancement, but it's pretty minimal. So hope all is well.
Thank you very much, Ton, for the voice submission. I really do appreciate it. I have to say, even though this wasn't a question, I loved this so much because when I review a product, when I test out a product, max, I will spend maybe 100 hours with it. That's on the high end. So hearing from somebody who has used a product for 2 years, 3 years, they are going to be able to provide a level of detail and real-world application that I am unable to provide, because if I spent 3 years with every product, I would have 2 videos out by now. Maybe more if I test them out simultaneously. Let's say 10 videos. So I would not argue if somebody sends in a question about a piece of gear that I don't have much experience with. I would love if people sent in audio or video like Ton just did. I would like to limit it to max 2 minutes like Ton did. That was fantastic. Great level of detail, real world experience, but it doesn't just ramble on. Fantastic submission, Ton. I really do appreciate you. And hopefully that helps whoever is looking at the Zoom LiveTrack L8. That is it for this episode. I don't think I'm going to hit this 1 hour mark for filming and editing and uploading, because it's going to take 15 minutes to process the audio. Oh well, we're going to try. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. You are one of the best human beings I have ever encountered. I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, next Sunday. It wasn't my computer program going awry. I hope you have an amazing... What am I doing? I don't know what I do until I do it, and then I regret it immediately. I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. I will talk to you then. Bye-bye. Whoa, whoa. Boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.